And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. In today's package, we bring to you, as usual, trending issues on politics and development in the Niger Delta region. We begin with politics in Bayelsa State, where Nigeria's electoral umpire and the police authorities have promised to midwife free, fair, and credible governorship elections come November 16, 2019. Next on our lineup for today's package is the controversy surrounding the leadership of the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC as the Senate locks horns with the Presidency over the appointment of a management committee to oversee the Commission's affairs in the interim. Moving on, we bring you details of what Belemaoil Producing Limited has done to upgrade existing facilities at the Nigerian Army University in Maiduguri. Also in today's package is an update on the environmental cleanup exercise in Ogoni land, where the hydrocarbon pollution remediation project, HYPREP, is currently engaging Ogoni youths to facilitate the project. Staying with the environmental issues in the Niger Delta, we bring you details of the interim report of the Commission of Inquiry set up to carry out an environmental audit of the hydrocarbon pollutions in Bayelsa State. And finally, in today's package is a report detailing the position of oil-bearing community in Abia State on the operations of oil mining lease OML 11 in the Niger Delta. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Bayelsans have been assured of credible and transparent polls as the governorship election gets underway on Saturday, November 16, 2019. Inspector General of Police and Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mamode Akugha, gave the assurance on separate occasions during their recent visit to the state ahead of the polls.
Not a few voters in Bayelsa State may have been worried about the conduct of the November 16 governorship election. This is because elections have been largely marred by irregularities in the recent past. At a stakeholders interactive session convened ahead of the polls, INEC boss Professor Mamode Akugha, however, maintained that adequate preparations had been made to midwife free, fair and credible governorship elections in Bayelsa State.
INEC is ready for the elections in Bayelsa State. I urge all stakeholders to continue to eschew violence and maintain peaceful conduct during the election.
For his part, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, maintained that perpetrators of violence during elections will certainly not have a field day come November 16, 2019.
Buying of votes, whether secretly done or openly done, is against the law. Anybody caught will not be spared. He or she will be dealt with.
To stay on the right side of the law, the police boss advised voters, especially youths, to follow election guidelines and desist from doing the biddings of unscrupulous politicians.
If arms have been stockpiled somewhere for you to use on the D-Day, you better rethink. We will not allow you move with any arm. We will not allow you even try to leave your compound, your area where you cast your vote, to another area. But if you choose to say that you are going to flout the law, break the law, and come out in force to disrupt the process, please try it and you see what will happen.
No fewer than 32,000 police personnel have been deployed to Bayelsa State to provide security at the polls.
Inside the Niger Delta.
how the brewing conflict of interest between the Presidency and the National Assembly over the leadership of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) will play out in the weeks ahead has become a topical issue in the Niger Delta. Barely days after the Joy Nunye-led interim management was inaugurated to oversee the forensic audit of the NDDC as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari, the Senate had gone ahead to confirm the appointment of members of a substantive governing board and asking them to immediately take over the affairs of the commission. This report, correspondent Ekena Amiofori takes a look at the arguments for and against the setting up of an interim management for the NDDC.
Shortly after their inauguration, members of the new interim management of the NDDC met with staff members to unveil their mission statements. The new leaders of the NDDC appointed to oversee its forensic audit have also taken it upon themselves to deliver a resuscitated commission to the incoming board. This objective was reiterated by Acting Managing Director of the NDDC, Joy Nunye, during a recent working visit to Governor Nyesom Wike at Government House, Port Harcourt.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has directed that we ensure that development and accountability takes place now in the Commission. We're here, Your Excellency, to encourage you that as a Commission and as an interim management, we will work with you so that we can achieve true development in our rural communities especially.
In spite of our avowed commitment to resuscitating an ailing NDDC, Joy Nunye lacks the recognition and support of the Senate. Before her appointment as Acting Managing Director, the Ogoni-born lawyer was nominated to represent Rivers State in the incoming governing board of the NDDC. In the meantime, she may have forfeited that position for refusing to appear before the Senate for screening and confirmation of her appointment.
And the Senate did not approve the nomination of Dr. Joy Imebi Nunye, member representing Rivers State. As soon as we conclude on this process, the confirmation, I'm sure that any other structure that exists now is vitiated.
In exercising its legal authority, the Senate has asked the new substantive governing board to immediately take over the affairs of the NDDC, as the act establishing the commission does not recognize an interim management currently led by Joy Nunye. However, the Senate may have gone beyond its constitutional powers in issuing such a directive. The senators, through their action, leave no one in doubt that they are not comfortable with the state of affairs in the NDDC. The new NDDC boss, however, alleges that some of the senators have taken juicy contracts of the NDDC without executing them.
But I know where political interferences come from. I'm not going to compromise. And I want to say that the contract as collection agent, so whether you collect, you go to their office or not, you receive the money, has been suspended by me. We're not going to pay anybody 1 billion naira every month. I mean, that is wicked. 1 billion every month can put monopomps in rural communities in the Niger Delta, can buy books, can set up the primary health centers. Why would anyone do that? So that has been suspended. The 3% from Starline has been, of course, it's not going to be renewed. That too is over. So that's why we're under pressure. But I laugh because those who live in glass houses should never throw stones.
In the estimation of most Niger Deltans, the NDDC has performed far below average on its mandate to transform the Niger Delta, owing to leadership failure in the system. In trying to get the NDDC back on its feet, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari has in less than 4 years appointed 5 transitional management teams to pilot the Commission's affairs, but that seems not to have addressed the trouble with the NDDC.
Those who fought for this NDDC, this was not what they thought of for the development of the people of Niger Delta and their areas. NDDC has collapsed. So you know that you have that opportunity. Just ask yourself, if I'm going to stay here for 1 day, if I'm going to stay here for 1 month, if I'm going to stay here for 3 months, what can I show that I did? If for nothing, that you are able to put back NDDC, the corruption is too much.
Obviously, the recent action of the Senate leaves it on a collision course with the Presidency over the current state of affairs in the NDDC. The situation has also divided stakeholders in the Niger Delta. While a faction of the Ijaw Youth Council has called for the sack of Niger Delta Minister Godswill Akpabio over the recent turn of events in the NDDC, a rival faction of the group recently paid him a solidarity visit in Abuja.
We reject totally the constitution of an interim management committee to manage the affairs of the NDDC. The reasons are these. Number one, interim management committee is unknown to the NDDC Act. It is an illegality.
What you are doing is the right thing. And we know that once you fight corruption, corruption will always fight back. And that is what is happening. Honourable Minister, your people is behind you. And we love you because we know that you are a performer and we know that you will succeed.
Recently, some protesters from the Niger Delta region stormed the National Assembly to declare their support for Senator Akpabio.
We are here to support him. Nobody should distract him. What he did in Akwa State when he was a governor for 8 years, we believe that he can do the same thing in the Niger Delta region.
In addressing the prevailing conflict of interest in the NDDC, the legislative and executive arms of government are expected to quickly arrive at a compromise to enable the Commission to deliver on its mandate as an intervention agency in the Niger Delta.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Management of the Niger Delta-based oil giant Belemaoil Producing Limited and Jack Rich Aid Foundation have reiterated their commitment to national growth and development under its corporate social responsibility policy. The commitment was made by the president and founder of Belemaoil, Jack Rich Tein Jr., during a courtesy visit by the management of the Nigerian Army University, BU, to the Belemaoil Foundation at the Central Business District of Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory.
Vice-Chancellor of the Nigerian Army University, BU, Professor Fatima Tahir and her team recently visited the founder and president of Belemaoil Producing Limited, Engineer Jack Rich Tein Jr., to express their gratitude over his contributions to the institution's development. Jack Rich Tein Jr. had, on behalf of the Jack Rich Tein Aid Foundation and Belemaoil, donated a water facility as well as engineering and hostel blocks to the Nigerian Army University shortly after it officially commenced academic activities in October last year.
Being a new university, it is faced with so many challenges of facilities to effectively run its activities. That is why this gift that has been given to the university by the president of Belemaoil is such a huge relief, as it has addressed one of our most pressing needs. On behalf of the management, the council, staff, and students of the Nigerian Army University, it's my privilege and honor to present to you this token gift of appreciation.
In his remarks, Jack Rich Tein Jr. observed that the decision to upgrade existing facilities in the university was born out of a desire to promote Nigeria's intellectual outputs in a highly competitive global community.
The reason we were pretty much interested in the Faculty of Engineering is that the time that we are in now, is a time where technology is deciding the landscape. And technology without the right education, technology without innovation, technology without the right human intellectual capital is a complete display of deficiency. As we embark on this project, I believe strongly that it's going to go a long way.
The ongoing project has so far gulped about 400 million naira and will take an additional 2.6 billion naira to complete.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, has commenced training for Ogoni youths in health, safety and environmental cleanup project in Ogoni land. Speaking during the official launch of the training program in Eleme, HYPREP coordinator Dr. Marvin Dekil said the youths will on completion of their training be empowered with requisite skills to participate fully in the project. Correspondent Chika Bodozie has the report.
In the first phase of the program, about 400 youths drawn from across the 4 local government areas in Ogoni land are currently being trained to provide them with requisite technical skills in environmental remediation. On completion of the training, they will serve as field workers working with environmental scientists to successfully deliver the Ogoni Cleanup project.
We want to use this opportunity to say to the entire country, to the entire nation, that the project is real. Like my former colleague said, when we heard about it, we thought it was not going to be a reality. But today, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has fulfilled the promise he made during his campaign to clean up the Ogoni land. And the cleanup is on. We are seeing it with our eyes.
At the flag-off of the training program in Eleme Kingdom, Chairman of Eleme Local Government Area, Philip Okparaji, lauded HYPREP for its commitment to the systematic remediation of the ecologically devastated Ogoni land. He also advised beneficiaries of the program to take full advantage of the opportunity at their disposal.
Do your best, because at the end of the day, whatever benefit is going to come to you, not only you and to the community. Coordinator, what people are doing are taking some of our boys off our responsibility. Is part of what we call empowerment.
There was before this time perceived alienation from the ongoing cleanup exercise in certain quarters. For HYPREP, the training program designed to benefit Ogoni youths is a clear demonstration of the agency's desire to allow Ogoni communities take full ownership of the cleanup project.
This is giving the process, giving ownership of this process to the community people, because this training empowers the community to understand and participate in the implementation process. The importance of this is giving ownership of this project to the community youth.
HYPREP's coordinator, Dr. Marvin Dekil, is optimistic that those currently undergoing training will be an invaluable asset to the Ogoni cleanup exercise. He says more youths will be incorporated in the training program in its second phase.
The people who are actually carrying out the activities in the offices, in the field, the technical manpower of the project are all youths. And so we consider the youth very, very important. Now, the people who are in the field doing this work need to have the right knowledge, capacity, doing the work they do in the field. So this training is the beginning of more trainings to come for them.
The ongoing environmental cleanup exercise in Ogoni land follows an environmental impact assessment of decades-long oil drilling activities in the area by the United Nations Environment Programme UNEP. UNEP had in its findings observed that the impact of environmental degradation on Ogoni communities was far more severe than previously imagined. The United Nations agency had recommended, therefore, a comprehensive remediation of the despoiled environment to restore it back to full productive health. For HYPREP, this is an assignment it must deliver successfully through the deployment of international best practices.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The Commission of Inquiry set up by the Bayelsa State Government to carry out an environmental audit of crude oil-impacted communities recently submitted its interim report to Governor Henry Seriake Dixon in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State Capital. On receiving the report, Governor Seriake Dixon had described it as shocking, while vowing to bring global attention to what he considered one of the world's most tragic and ignored stories. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has details.
The 10-member Commission of Inquiry, comprising Nigerian and foreign scholars and diplomats, including former Ghanaian President John Kufuor, was inaugurated in March this year. The commission, chaired by the Archbishop of York, Dr. John Sentamu, was mandated to investigate the environmental, health and socio-economic damage caused by the operations of local and foreign oil companies in about 6 decades of oil production in Bayelsa State. In carrying out their assignments, members of the Environmental Audit Commission visited scores of impacted communities and received testimonies from over 500 persons. In its interim report, the Commission observes that a slow environmental genocide is happening in Bayelsa State.
Companies have done an incredible amount of damage, and they just can't be allowed to get away with it any longer. So it is our hope, Your Excellency, that as a Commission we can exert increased pressure on multinational oil companies to operate to the same legal and moral responsibility in Bayelsa State as would be expected in the United Kingdom, United States and Norway. They have companies in those countries, but they do not get away with it. If there was a spillage, I can assure you, they will clean it up, but also they will face a huge bill of compensation. They just will not be allowed to get away with it.
In its interim report, the Environmental Audit Commission also observes that about 25% of the total volume of oil pollution across the Niger Delta occurs in Bayelsa State.
And this is happening amongst communities. And I want the world to hear that. I want the world to hear that there are babies who are falling ill because of this exploitation. That is avoidable. That is the shame of the story, that it is avoidable.
I was struck by noticing in many communities or along the creeks that we visited by boat, that sometimes in areas you will not even see a single bird. You will not hear bird song. And when you don't hear bird song in a place like the Niger Delta, it's a signal that something very serious is very wrong.
Governor Seriake Dickson, who passed a vote of confidence in the Commission, vowed to bring his people's plight to the consciousness of the global community for possible action against perpetrators of environmental terrorism.
Beyond making money, beyond crude oil being a very important part of international diplomacy, beyond all of this, there's a real life story of our people. We must be prepared to tell them, confront them with the truth of what they are doing.
The final report of the Commission of Inquiry on Environmental Degradation in Bayelsa State will be released in London early next year.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The controversy surrounding the legal status of oil mining lease OML 11 may have taken a new dimension as the oil-rich Owaza community in Abia State, which has a hosting right to the facility, has called on the federal government to immediately take over its operatorship from Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC. Traditional ruler of Owaza, Eze Obioma Nwogo, made a call at a prayer session in the community where Shell was declared a persona non grata in Owaza community and other host communities of OML 11.
Owaza community in Ukwa West local government area of Abia State shares hosting right to OML 11 with neighboring communities along the Imo River. Oil production in this sleepy community commenced in 1958 when Shell was granted operational license of OML 11. Despite having been a major producer of crude oil, Owaza has been largely underdeveloped, deprived of motorable roads, potable water and healthcare facility. Owaza Central School is the only visible social infrastructure provided by the Abia State government. Worried by the telling state of underdevelopment in the area, members of Owaza community recently held a prayer session seeking divine intervention in their plight.
Since 1958, there is no light to talk about, no good hospital care, no employment, no good roads. What are they here for? We are asking the federal government to come to our aid, asking an NPC, whoever they want to nominate as an indigenous firm, we are ready to deliberate for them. The host-bearing communities are ever ready. And we need somebody who will comfort us here.
The community's call on the federal government to withdraw Shell's operational license in OML 11 is in spite of a widely publicized acquisition of Shell's stake in the oil mining lease. In September this year, Governor Nyesom Wike said Rivers State government had purchased Shell's 45% stake in OML 11 at a cost of $150 million.
Rather than stand by and watch other persons or group purchase SPDC 45% interest in that OML 11 and further exacerbate the poverty of the people of the state, a responsible and responsive state government should weigh in and bid for the purchase of SPDC interest already set down for auction.
While Shell has neither confirmed nor denied transferring its stake in OML 11, the Department of Petroleum Resources, which has the legal authority to transfer oil licenses, says it is not aware of the transaction. This leaves most observers at a loss over the legal status of OML 11.
The facility of OML 11 do not exist in the hands of Shell as of today. That block has expired, so there is nothing the governor is buying or acquiring. As of today, the NNPC has 100% of OML 11.
The controversy on the current legal status of OML 11 notwithstanding, the Hausa community, which plays host to Nigeria's largest oil mining lease, cannot afford to remain in abject poverty.
And with that report, we bring the program to a close. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. At the same time next week, I am Mamode Akugha saying thank you so much for watching and bye for now.